Alright. Thank you for your patience and us getting ourselves put together a little bit this evening. Thank you for coming out. I want to introduce myself. I'm Tammy Barron. I'm president of CAW. We have our trustee board back there, and Bree is running around working on some stuff, and she'll be in here shortly. We've got a few things in the works for CAW. Let's see, sum up, we've started a poetry night, or we're going to be included in a poetry night. Can you remind me, Southern Loves here in Cartersville, and our first event is going to be this Friday. Do you know the hours? I think it starts at 6, but we'll double check for you. It's a great opportunity for you to get out and meet other writers, share your own work, bring your favorite poem, and you can read a poem of your favorite poet. We also, last weekend, we participated in Barbecue Brew Festival here in Cartersville. It was a really busy event, one of the largest events in Cartersville, so we thought it was going to be a great opportunity to get our name out there and meet some people and actually sell some books, which we did. And coming up in the first weekend of May, we've got the Rose Lawn Art Festival, and that's also a big draw to this area. It's a popular event. It brings people from all over the region, and it's a great opportunity for our members to showcase their work and sell their books. And that is a perk of membership that we work really hard to get set up as many opportunities as we can to get you in front of the public and get your books sold. So any authors that are interested in marketing their work, you need to contact CAW Hospitality or the Cartersville Area Writers Gmail account and let us know that you want to sell your books. We'll need to know the price list, and we need those books in hand by the 28th. So contact us, please, if you have any material that you would like to sell at that event. But also, regarding that event, it's 2 days. It's Saturday the 2nd from like 10 to 6, and Sunday noon to 5. So that's a lot of hours for us to cover for our booth. So we are looking for some volunteers. If you could volunteer just a few hours for each day, that will allow us to kind of rotate, our staff, but also give you a chance to enjoy the festival.
What is the time on Saturday, Tammy?
Saturday it opens up at 10 and closes at, did I say 6? 6. At 6. And then Sunday is noon to 5.
So if we want to sell our books, we bring our books to one of y'all by the 28th?
Correct.
Okay, and then how does that work with collected money?
Okay, so what we're going to do, we'll have a change bag, and we'll be keeping a tally of what we sell, but any credit card transactions, we will need to, we'll deduct that 3% from your proceeds, just so that we're not following that.
And then you just write us a check later or something?
We can write you a check or Venmo. We have a Venmo account, which makes it pretty easy. Let's see. Yeah, so I've got a sign-up sheet for the volunteers for that event by the door. Again, I don't need you guys to be there for the whole day. That's a big ask, and I think it's going to be a beautiful weekend. But even if you were to come and man the table for 1 or 2 hours, that would be an enormous help to the group. And
it's at Rose Lawn, like on their yard?
Yes, but we will be sending out information on socials, make sure that everybody knows where the event is. But again, please reach out to us if you have books that you want us to have at the table. We'd like to do a nice author card, and really try to market you and the work that you've done. So this evening, Katie's going to be presenting on self-editing and that process. We're really gearing up toward anthology submissions and closing up. And I know personally, I had some misconceptions on what the expectation was on doing those edits. And it's not as simple as click accept. What I've learned. So we'll be learning some techniques today and also just some practical information so that our submission for the anthology goes smoothly and we can really dive into those edits and stuff this summer. All right. Well, thank you again for being here. Katie.
Well, her,
Do you want him to talk or?
You can. Do you want to talk more about the festival that you went to this weekend?
okay.
We never know what this room's going to look like when we get here. It's a little bit of a maze today, but it's pretty awesome.
Hello, I'm Chris. I'm the secretary for the CAW. I went to the Beer and Brew Festival Saturday, and also I didn't expect to do anything because it's books and they're selling barbecue and beer, but there's actually a lot of people interested. While they're walking around, they wanted to support local authors. So when I said it was local authors, and especially got you buy 3 and it's $40, they were all excited about it. But there was a number of people who say they write, but they have no outlet for it or no training or no experience doing it, which was a good opportunity to say, once you check out the YouTube channel. But the main thing was they wanted to support local authors. So on the note of bring your books, events like that, they don't look like it, but they are good places to sell your books if you're looking to sell it. It's by giving it to us, you take out the labor. You don't have to sit at the booth for 8 hours. You don't have to do any advertising because they're doing it for you. So there's no investment other than you buying the book yourself, buying the author copies and handing it to us. And then we sell it for you and you get the money back, which is the perk of being a member. And we like helping the authors. Helping
Yeah,
them.
I hate that I missed that.
Yeah, it was a good event. There was a lot of people there. It was
What
crowded. There was large crowds coming in and out. But there was another author behind me, Manny Cantrell, and she sold, I think, 20 or 30 of her books. So it's not. Yeah. So it's not something to scoff at. It's barbecue and brew. I can't sell any books. No, you can sell some books. And we didn't think we were going to sell it. I brought some of my books. I brought 10 of mine. I sold 9.
Wow, that's great.
And I wasn't really pushing it. I didn't expect to sell any of them. But not trying, sold 9 of them. So that's something to consider. And thank you for your time.
Hey, Chris,
Yes.
this Saturday, Calhoun is having their barbecue boogie and blues festival.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be going to that one.
Okay.
It's been a minute since I've done one of these, so bear with me. I hope that we can discuss some stuff and do something for everybody and what I have to talk about. And I was telling Chris earlier, when I was first thinking about this, I thought, who would probably approach this in an opposite way to the way that I do things? And I thought, Isaac, you probably would, because Isaac, you know, is very structured, and you know me, I'm very squirrel. And he sent me what he does in his own self-editing, and I was very pleased to see that it's very similar to what I do. So that made me happy. I thought, all right, maybe I'm a grown-up. This is nice. So we'll get started here. Y'all do the anthology has a week and 2 days before the closing window. It's on the 30th, so I hope you're polishing up your work, and if you have any questions, make sure you ask me. I'll get back with you.
Do a synopsis of the 5 ones I practiced out between.
Good.
I'll share it.
Sounds good, yeah, because we've put a variety of things in there, all the stories, just they run the gamut, and to me, that's what makes our anthology so much fun, with this poetry and the stories, and it really shows who we are as a group and who we are as individuals. So I think that's my favorite part. And thank you to all of you who've already gotten yours in, and I will be getting your, if there are any corrections, sent out to you in the next week or so. So somebody sent me a nearly perfect story last week, and that was wonderful. Nearly perfect, Carl. It was great. All right. I'm calling this editing without losing your mind or your voice, because your voice is very, very important. Writing can be a messy business. We have this idea in our heads about what we want to get down on paper, and then we put it down on paper and we think, this is not at all what I saw in my head. Not one bit. This is a mess. This is perfect. Why didn't it happen? But I think about writing like a puzzle. You dump that puzzle out onto the table and it does not look like the picture that's on the box, does it? But then you have to start pulling the pieces out. You find the corners and you find the edge pieces, and then you start matching the colors, and eventually you've got this beautiful picture that you've built out of this mess. And to me, that's the way writing is. You just have to find the pieces and put them in the right places. And I think the biggest mistake, at least the biggest mistake I made as a new writer, is expecting it to be perfect the minute I get it on paper. And I'm sitting writing these sentences and I'm thinking, why is this not as perfect as the way it should be? Why is Rick Bragg not flowing out of my fingers right now onto my screen? I don't understand. But that's just the way it is. It starts messy. You have to get it out there. You have to get it on paper. They're supposed to be rough. The first drafts are supposed to be rough. That's just the way it works, unless you are absolutely perfect. There are, I guess, a few people out there who can do it, but I'm not one of those people. We're not going to talk about plotting or pantsing or any of that kind of stuff, or you know, the beginning stuff, because once you start the editing process, you're past that. So that's the beginning. This is what you do once you've got your basic words out on paper. Just remember, don't judge yourself too early when you get the stuff down, because it's very easy, especially if you're one of those people who's hard on yourself. Don't judge yourself too early for what you've got written down. Don't go, oh, this is a piece of garbage and I'm going to throw it away. And if you really hate it, I mean, put it away, come back to it later. But don't decide that. You remember this scene in the Charlie Brown Christmas where he takes a one little ornament and hangs it on the tree, and the tree falls over and he goes, I've killed it, and walks away. He's decided it's done, it's over, it's trash, it'll never look good again. But the new eyes come along and help him see that he had the right idea to begin with. And it's actually quite beautiful. So think about your writing that way. Don't look at it as garbage and that you've killed it. Give it a minute. Give it some time to breathe. Give it some time to flesh it out. I love Charlie Brown, by the way. One of the things also that you can do as you're writing, if you get stuck somewhere, if you know you've got to do some research, or you're not sure what this term is, or you're not sure what their motivation is going to be just yet, you feel like you need to keep moving, you don't want to stop to do that digging right then because you got to break up your flow, then just put some placeholders in there. Do y'all know who Lauren Graham is? The actress from Gilmore Girls, the one who talks really fast. In her book, Talking as Fast as I Can, she talked about one of her friends who writes who is a screenwriter. And she writes a lot of medical shows. And so when she gets to these spots where she has to put these long, whatever this disease is and whatever they're going to do to cure it, but she doesn't know what it is yet because she has to do the research, she writes medical, and puts it in red so that she knows to go back, fix this when she can later. But that way she keeps her flow going. And then, like, for example, when I was working on the story that I'm going to be putting in our anthology, I wasn't sure about one of my characters' motivations. So I put reason for why later in red, so that when I go back to read it, I go, yeah, I need to fix that. And just make sure you keep moving. Just make sure you keep moving. Don't let yourself get bogged down. And also sometimes if you stop doing the research in the middle of this, I'm guilty of it, you're going to wind up going down a lot of rabbit trails and lose a lot of time. So you do want to keep moving. There are some really good tools that can help you while you're writing. Tools that come in your programs like spell check. Those are really good. They can help you catch those typos and things. But you need to be careful because they can also mess with your intentional word choices or an intentional spelling. For example, I tried to just write the word can't because so many of us around here say can't. And my spell check went insane and just kept, it's like it's poking me the whole time. Fix this, fix this. So don't just hit accept when spell check pops up and says you need to fix this, because it can really wreck what you're trying to do. Just make sure you check to see what the suggested fix is. And then you've also got grammar tools. Some of them come within your program like Word. I think Google Docs has some. I'm pretty sure Scrivener has grammar suggestions. Grammarly is an add-on that you can add on to help. It detects flow and word choice and stuff like that. They can catch word tense, subject, verb agreement things. But again, be careful because sometimes they aren't right. Sometimes they are wrong. You can say, no, I know there's supposed to be a comma there. Do more research. Yep, Grammarly was wrong about that. So don't just accept what they're telling you to do, and especially if it's going to mess with your style. Because you do make stylistic choices, and you don't want these things to make you sound plain, to make you sound like every other written word out there. Keep your style, that's very important. Chris made a good point when he was talking about AI, good or bad. When he said some of these AI tools can teach you things, and some of these grammar catchers absolutely can. You can look at this and say, which is better, weave or wove? Well, they're different. They have different uses. And I think Bree got me on that one because I tried to change one of her weaved to wove, and she's like, no, nope, not right. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Looked it up, 100%. She was right. I was wrong. So if you have good tools around, if you have Bree around, and they catch these things, these are great opportunities.
I Googled it.
Thank you. But these are great opportunities to learn, to enhance your own writing, but don't just inherently trust them because they can be wrong. And they hate the word y'all. A lot of them really hate the word y'all. Stick to the word y'all. But the biggest deal when you're using anything like this, Grammarly and spell check and stuff like that, is just don't let it change your voice. Don't let it change your style. Keep your style, keep your voice, because that's what we need. We don't need everybody to sound homogenous. We don't need that. We need your voice. That's the whole point of writing, is your voice. Now, editing as you go. There's two different kinds of writers, two different types. One of them is a write now, edit later writer. They will write, not stop for typos, not stop for punctuation problems, not stop for verb problems, anything. They'll just keep going and write. And they'll come back and fix it later. Then there's others who do line edits as you go. That's me, because my fingers will not move. They tangle up. If I remember, I spelled it wrong, and I'm lost. I have to fix it. I have to go back and fix it. Not everything, but misspellings and things like that, I have to fix them. They weigh on my brain too hard for me to be able to keep going. Neither one is right. Both of them are just fine. And for those of you who are old enough to remember typing class, remember typing class at school? Not keyboard class, typing class with the old royals and all that. Remember that? We would take our typing test where they would time us for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that. They'd give us our thing we had to type. We had to type it out, not stop, keep going. And then at the end, they would give us our speed by deducting what we got wrong. Anything that we mistyped was deducted, and then that was our words per minute, right? I had a real problem with that because every time I would mess something up, my brain told me, you made a mistake, you need to fix it, there's a mistake there. And everything else from there was just awful. It was trash. And so it looked like a really slow word count, but it was just because my brain tangled up on that. So whichever you are, it's okay. Just don't let it slow your flow. It's perfectly all right. Now, as you're going, there is a difference between light editing and heavy editing. Light editing, like catching these misspelled words or a comma or something that's bugging you, that's fine, absolutely fine, keep going. Heavy editing can be difficult at that moment because you're not quite through where you need to be to do those heavy edits. You need to be here instead of here to do heavy edits. Unless you think of the most brilliant sentence ever put in a book, go ahead and write that down, that's cool, go ahead and do it. But your heavy editing, don't do that here because that will stop your flow. You'll get caught up in that. But don't let those little issues stop you. Just try to keep going as much as you can. If it slows you down, fix it and then keep going. All right. After you've got your document, after you've got your short story, your poem, your manuscript, whatever it is that you're working on, if you, as you're reading back through it, you keep running across this one section that doesn't feel wrong. No, it doesn't feel right. It's like, what do I do with it? What's wrong with it? You either need to cut it, you need to move it, or you need to rewrite it. If it's not working for you, there's a reason. It's jumping out at you and saying, I'm not the right thing. You might need to have moved it earlier. You might need to move it later. You might need to move it to the trash can. You don't know, but you gotta figure that part out. If there's a problem spot, don't let it stay a problem, because later when you send it to your critique group or to your editor, they're gonna catch this and say, here's a problem, you need to fix this. So it's better if you fix it earlier when your gut's telling you something's wrong with this spot. And one thing that you can do, if you're not ready to move it, if you have a good critique group, if you have good critique partners, and you see that spot that's a problem, but you just don't know what the heck to do with it yet, make a note in the margin, make a note somewhere on your page and say, hey, would y'all please look at this spot? I'm struggling with it. What do you think? Should it be here? Should I move it? What should happen? This is a trouble spot for me, so that they'll know to read that spot and pay special attention to it. They may tell you, no, it's actually okay. But again, still trust your gut. But they will help you figure that out. At least a good one will put you on the right path with that. But don't just leave it there thinking, well, I wrote it. Don't just leave it there. If your gut is saying fix it, then you absolutely want to fix it. Now, one of the things some writers, especially early writers, is they will hit send before they are way ready to. They will hit publish before they are way ready to. You do need outside eyes to read your work. I don't think there's anything more valuable than a good critique group, than good critique partners who will help you look over what you've gotten and say what works, what doesn't. I think that those are very important. If you send it out without any help, you're going to see it in sales and you're going to see it in reviews. Unless, of course, you're perfect. And I haven't met the absolute perfect writer yet, but I don't know. But let other people run their eyes over it. And don't be afraid to send an early draft. I know that we want to send the best thing we can to our critique partners. We want them to think we're brilliant out of the gate. I know that. But send the earliest draft that's a clean draft that you can, because then they can tell you, are you on the right path? They can tell you if you've got the right characters. They can say, too many of your characters have the same or very similar name. That happens a lot. It's like, okay, I don't remember who was Susie and who was Susan and who was Sharon. Make sure they can catch these things. And so that's what you want out of your early critiques. Make sure you're on the right path. And this can be a hard one. Friends and family don't always equal good editors regarding constructive feedback, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. And of course, there's some precious mommies and daddies out there who think everything you do is gold, and they're going to see it as perfect, whether it is or not. And you ask your friends, read this, and they'll say, this is wonderful. They're not going to tell you, I have a problem on page 2. They're unlikely to. It's hard to find friends that are that honest. So you need honest critique groups who give constructive criticism. These people need to have nothing to lose by telling you what they think. If they were to walk off, it's not as big a deal. You have to have thick skin to be a writer, and you have to be willing to hear it. Even if you disagree 100% with it, somebody can be completely wrong in what they're telling you, and your gut says, no, I really don't believe that. It helps to hear it, because then you are developing that ability to say, I appreciate what you're saying, and you take a second look just to make sure. So that's what you need. All right, this is one that Isaac mentioned, and that you'll hear a lot of people mention, and that has definitely helped me. Once you've got your manuscript where you think it's in a pretty good spot, walk away from it for a little while. Put it away. Minimum a week. Some people walk away for longer than that, several months. Put it away. I would have said, no way. I'm so concerned with the story, and I'm on a roll, and I want to keep making it better. No, the problem is you've seen it too much. You're going to miss some things. And so you need to put it away. When you come back with fresh eyes, you'll go, oh, I did not mention that he played basketball professionally. That would explain the basketball hoops all over the place. You catch the stuff that you didn't do, and you catch the problems in your story, and you catch the things that you need to add. It can help you a lot by walking away. Okay, you all heard the phrase, kill your darlings. I think that's something like in the top 5 writing advice, kill your darlings. Well, it is credited to Faulkner, but it's actually not Faulkner. Believe it or not, because I went down that rabbit hole doing this. The origin is Sir Arthur Quiller Couch. He wrote that in his book on the art of writing in 1916. His quote was, you require a practical rule of me, I will present you with this. Whenever you feel an impulse to perpetrate a piece of exceptionally fine writing, obey it wholeheartedly and delete it before sending your manuscript to press. Murder your darlings. I think that's hysterical. It doesn't mean what we've decided that it means now. What he meant was you don't want to use precious language. He called it a basket of jewels. You don't want to use words and phrases that are overworked and over the top and overly flowery because they sound writerly, and you think people are going to go, they are just a master at writing. He says that that's going to destroy your writing, it's going to destroy the reading. People are going to read it and go, ooh, what is he trying to say? I don't understand it. So that's what he said in his 1916 book, Sir Arthur Quiller Couch. So I was like, why has everybody credited that to Faulkner? So I went down that hole to try to find out. Apparently, he said it somewhere to somebody talking about the original source, and he said kill instead of murder, we're assuming, because he probably speaks in synonyms like I do. I never say the original word. I always make it a synonym. So if I tell you something, look it up, because it's probably a synonym to what I said. But everybody has decided that it was Faulkner Gold, that he actually said it. But if you look again, it's been credited to so many other writers as well as having said, kill your darlings, because so many writers have repeated this advice. And because I was looking and I was like, where? I'm Googling everything. Where did he actually say it? Where did he write it? Who heard him say it? It's not out there. So even this woman, she's a writer, and I don't know anything about her, so I'm not trying to besmirch her at all. Her name is Pamela Aarons, and she wrote in The Joys of Trimming in the New York Times. She was talking about editing. My favorite part of writing is taking stuff out. Quote, in writing, you must kill all your darlings, William Faulkner famously wrote. But he didn't famously write it. We just decided he did. So I think it's interesting that we misattributed it. But again, that's an aside. That's not important. But I do want to explain the difference, because instead of talking about flowery, ornamental language, we have decided within the Faulknerian sense, of the use of the term, to trim your favorite pieces that might be holding your writing back. If you've written something that you think is wonderful, if you've written something you think is beautiful, but it does absolutely nothing to forward the plot, it does nothing to support the character and its arc, it does nothing to help the story get from the beginning to the end, but just sound good, no matter how much you like it, take it out, because it's going to be a stumbling block. That's the way Faulkner interpreted it. That's the way he used it. So we have those two different meanings of murder your darlings and kill your darlings. So I've done that myself. I'll read something, I think I'm so proud of that paragraph, and then later somebody will say, this is absolutely unnecessary, cut it. And I'm thinking, you just stabbed me in the heart. But it's true. If it's slowing your narrative down, if it's not doing you any good, get rid of it. But don't throw it away altogether. One of the things that I learned early in I think Carl taught me this, I'm not sure. Keep an extra file for when you take things out that you've written, that you like, that you want to keep, that you think are good, and just have your own little slush file over here of things that you've written. Because you might be able to use it again another day in another story. You'll go, wait, I wrote a paragraph, go back and find it, fit it right into that story, and they'll be like, that's the most masterful paragraph in that story that I've ever read. So don't throw your stuff away. Save those things in your writing. Put them in a file, and then you can come back and use them later. And I believe you're the one that told me to do that.
Probably.
Exactly. Save it all. Save it all. All right. Now, when we get down to the actual brass tacks of editing, the first pass, when you read through it the first time, you're looking at your big picture. You want to read through without doing any heavy editing. Just read through and make sure there's that line there. Make sure the arcs are there. Just read, catch the plot holes. If you need to mark spots, make notes, just read it through and make sure that it works for structure and flow. And one of the things that I learned doing critique groups is always read something twice before you start any kind of commenting and fixing on it. Because the first time you're getting it, the second time you're understanding it. So always read through them twice if you're on That's some critique group advice. Read it twice before you do any critiquing. But you're watching for those through lines. You're watching for the things that work on that first one. But then when you do your second pass, you're watching for your pace. You want to make sure that the intense moments are fast. You want to make sure that the sentences are small, that the paragraphs are smaller, that everything is moving, that the language is sharp and snappy. That's what you want if you're in an intense situation. And in the other ones where you're describing things, where you're helping people understand, where you're getting inside the mind of characters, and all those can be longer. Those sentences can be longer. Those paragraphs can be longer. But you want that pace to be uneven, which makes it even. Does that make any sense? Is a negative to a positive that way? You want the pace to vary so that it's interesting. If it's all long paragraphs, it's going to get tiring after a while. If it's all short paragraphs, it's going to be too fast to read. You won't give you a chance to get into stuff. So just make sure your pace fits what you're trying to say. You also want to look for plot holes. A plot hole is a mistake or a gap in the story, a logical impossibility from the earlier part of the story to the present. For example, if the spaceship's computer is broken in chapter 2 and it's never shown to be repaired, it can't suddenly come to life in chapter 4. You need to make sure you show that repair. If somebody can't swim in chapter 1 and suddenly they swim out to save the dog in chapter 5, it's not going to make any sense because they couldn't swim. You need to make sure that these plot holes are filled. You need to make sure that everything follows these logical consistencies, because if you miss them, your readers absolutely will not miss them. And it will let you know loudly. You also need to make sure that you have a character arc and that it is a proper one for the story. Novel character arcs can be longer. They can take longer to get from A to Z. Short stories, of course, they're going to need to be shorter and likely a smaller change. It can be a gigantic change, but it'll have to happen quickly. You have less time to pull it out. But just make sure your character arc is there, that you hit it. You don't want a character that does not change from all right, let me say this correctly. You can have characters that don't change. Those can make a story very, very interesting, but you want the person who you're seeing the story through, there's a point, there's a reason you did that. They're the ones who are going to need the change, right? It can be somebody around them, it can be a foe, somebody they're against. They maybe don't need to change, and that may be the problem. Does that make any sense? Okay, just making sure I'm saying it right. I don't want to be saying it wrong. I want to say, she said I didn't need an arc. That's not what I'm saying. All right, then when you get to your third pass through, you're going to start looking for grammar, punctuation, and typos, unless you're like me and you fixed those when you went the first time. You also want to watch your tense consistency. And I think working on the anthology, this probably, it surprised me. It's the number one problem that I see when I get stories sent to me, is tenses switching from present to past throughout the story that are unintentional switches. Not, I'm doing something now and then I'm remembering something. Those tense switches are normal. Those happen. You need them. If somebody is walking on a railway and they're thinking and they're doing things right now, you want that immediate feel, you're in present tense, but then they're thinking about something that happened in the past, you're going to want it in past tense so that you make sense. You know where they are, and then you come back into present, that's fine. But unintentional tense switching happens a lot, and you need to watch that because it can be very, very confusing for your reader. Pick a tense and try to stick with it. If you catch that you switched, switch it back. You also want your point of view consistency. You don't want to ad hoc. You can absolutely do multiple POVs, but they need to be handled POV, point of view. You need to make sure that they are handled properly. There are many writers who do multiple points of view beautifully, but there's always a division. You're not going to see it in the same paragraph. Suddenly you're in somebody else's point of view. Like how do we get from Ethel to Lucy? That doesn't make any sense. You're going to need some kind of division. Now in the past that was done a little more often. In older novels it was done a little more often, but you just don't see that much anymore. People are really wanting the consistency. You can write in as many POVs as you want, but make sure it's clear who is here and who is here right now.
What about unreliable narrators?
I love unreliable narrators. Absolutely love them. I don't think I'm good at writing them yet. I want to get there. But yeah, those are wonderful.
What, I missed what the term is.
Unreliable Like Holden Caulfield, he's an unreliable narrator. I didn't understand that until I read it when I was grown. I read it in school and hated the book, and I know there's some people in the room who still hate the book. But I didn't understand that he was an unreliable narrator until I was grown, and then that changed my entire perception of the book. So they're fun. I think they're fun because they'll take you places you're not expecting to go, and you think that they are telling you the absolute truth, and then
They're
suddenly,
liars, they're big fat liars.
or they're delusional, one or the other. And by the end of the story, you're going, wait, I believe them. I believe. Oh, it's wonderful. I love unreliable narrators. I think that they're fabulous. If you can write them well, go at it. I would love to do that.
I think my favorite example of an unreliable narrator is the short story Why I Live at the PO by Dora Welty. Do y'all know that story? It's a first person narrator. It's fairly short. Why I Live at the PO by Dora Welty. And it's a beautiful example of that.
She's brilliant.
Yeah.
Speaking of brilliant writers. Thank you. Okay, you're also going to want to look at word level fixes. One thing you want to avoid are echoing words. Now, we learned at the most recent conference that word echoing can be powerful if you're doing it in a poetic way. If you're doing it in a way to make a point. It can be very, very powerful, very strong. But accidental echoes are annoying. If you use the same word 2 or 3 times within a paragraph, accidentally swap 1 or 2 of them out. Come up with something else. For example, Eddie opened his audiobook on his phone and connected his earbuds. He lay back on his pillow and opened his mind to what the writer was trying to teach him. He really liked how this writer helped open his eyes to the universe around him. See, open is in there way too many times, and by that time I'm going, oh, so switch something out. So I don't remember, I wish I could remember the man's name. He was a fantasy writer, apparently very well known, but I cannot remember. I took a class with him several years ago, and one of the things, several years ago, like when my daughter was really little, that's all I can't remember. One of the things he mentioned is that when you do things like this, you pull people out of your book and put them back on their couch. And the last thing you want to do is put somebody on the couch and go, wait, I'm reading the book. You want them to stay immersed in that story, and echo words is one of those things that can pull people right out of the book back to where they are. You also, and y'all all know this, you want to get rid of your crutch words. Very, really just words like that we use in our speech every day. We don't think a thing about it. But they can make your manuscript very weak. They can make your story very weak. Find strong words to replace them. Use more action to replace them. Don't say it was very hot. Say something like, I could feel the rubber on the bottom of my shoes melt as I walk along the sidewalk. That'll tell you it was very hot. So get rid of words like very. Do a quick search. Do the find, and it'll sometimes surprise you. My crutch word has been little. I will use little 8,000 times in a 10,000 word manuscript. I use the word little too often, so I have to go back and I look for words like that, very and little, and just, and things like that. Crutch words that I rely on. You also want to fix any clunky phrasing. If it feels like you would trip over it, rearrange it. And on your final review, this is the one that you would review. This is the one that you would do before you probably would send it to an editor, to some magazine, and say, oh, I would like to see if you are interested in my short story, to a critique group for a final pass as well. This is the final part. These are the different ways, and some of these work really beautifully. I recommend every one of them. I know it sounds laborious. I know it sounds tedious, and I know after a while you get tired of hearing your own work over and over and over, but these things really do work. Read it out loud. Pick it up. Read it out loud. If you find places where you stumble, if you find places where you have to stop and repeat yourself, if you find places that don't make sense when you say it out loud, those are great ways to find these areas that need work. The funny thing is, I heard a woman recently, she was talking about ways to do some self-editing, and I mentioned, read your work out loud. And she said, I won't be doing this, but thank you. All right, whatever your reasons are, you're not going to share them, but okay. I won't be doing this, thank you.
Okay. You know what else I do sometimes? I'll run through that page really quick and read the first word in the sentence. And then I'll be like, ooh, I said she 45 times.
That's terrific.
You know, So, and it's just fast. It's just something you don't always pick up on when you're reading the whole thing.
Exactly. You never know what's gonna jump out at you when you do something different.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Well, the only one uses 3 parts of your brain, where reading silently only uses 1.
Really?
Well, you're using your speech center, you're using your ears, and you're actually doing the reading part. So while you're just reading silently, all you're doing is reading. You're not using your speech center, you're not using your ears.
There's certainly a benefit to hearing through your externals.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I'll highlight it, get Siri to read it for me.
That was
And it's like, like she said, I'll be so focused on editing one paragraph, and I get it the way I want it, and I go on to the next one, and I forget about what was in this one. And then when you read it as a whole thing, it's like 3 paragraphs ago, I used that same word. It's a 25-cent word I should have already used anyway to try to impress somebody in my vocabulary. I certainly can't get away with it twice. So then, but that's the benefit of hearing it externally.
You also hear those rhyming words.
Yes.
A lot of times you're reading along, it doesn't rhyme in your mind, but when you open your mouth, it rhymes and it sounds weird.
Yeah, it's definitely a benefit to read it out loud.
When y'all read your books out loud, do you suddenly find yourself talking in your characters' voices?
Yes.
Like an Indian accent.
Absolutely. But yeah, just as what Bo was saying, there's also text-to-speech tools, Word, Scrivener, Google Docs, they all have these apps in them where it can read it to you. There's also Speechify, Natural Reader, different things like that online. Just do a quick search, you can find these. I have yet to find a good Southern accent. I can't find them. And since I write Southern fiction, it really bugs me when everything is crisp and clearly pronounced, and I'm like, that's not how they talk, so it makes it a little harder. I need to get a Southern friend to read that one.
Siri was supposed to be from Atlanta, lady from Atlanta, the first series.
Really?
But it's changed. Of course, now you have British Siri and all the other
Yeah, I got
men and
British
women
Siri.
and other things. So it's changed. The original series from Atlanta.
This is what, Australia?
Australian, a male.
I used to have a cookie monster do waves, but after all, you get tired of it going nom after a turn. So,
Oh, that's funny.
but yeah, there's some good tools out there that can read it out loud, because sometimes even when you read it out loud, it's better to hear it something else because you're listening. And just as I said before, have somebody else read it out loud to you. Figure out where they stumble. I took one of my stories to my sister and she read it to her kids, and I was able to watch where's the problem spots, where do the kids react, where do the kids not react. That was really a learning moment for me. Okay, this one surprised me. This was one that we talked about at our conference when we did the 2-hour workshop at our conference. Print it out. I had always thought, save your paper, don't print it out. It's right there on the screen. Read it on the screen. What's the difference? There's a difference. When you print it out and look at it on the paper, there's a big difference. I printed out 5 pages and took it to the conference. I sat there thinking, I've already done my edits. I really don't need to look. But I looked at it on the paper and I went, holy cow. I found so many things that I had missed. I put it on the screen, but it's fine. I see it on the paper. I'm scratching, I'm moving, I'm changing. It's remarkable how just a different medium makes a difference on how you see it.
And it's a little different on your phone. Like
Yes.
you email it to yourself, like
Yes.
you looked it on the computer, you printed it out, and I'll sit in bed at night, read it on my phone, and I'm like, what? That's totally missing a word right there.
Yes, exactly. And it shocks your brain into paying attention to it. When you've looked at it over and over and over, your brain puts in the stuff that you already missed. And then when you see it in another one, you're like, well, who wrote this? They missed that part. But yeah, you got ahead of me on that one. Read it in a different format.
Back to what you said about playing it out loud. Sometimes I will have read something 15 times, but then when I hear it out loud, it's like it's than instead of that. Both are valid words. It's not a spell check issue.
Right.
And unless the grammar part of it catches it, it didn't catch it, or
Right.
thee instead of we, or work. And I've seen it 100 times, and I don't see it. I can see it when I read yours, but I can't see it when I read mine because I know what I meant, and my mind keeps autocorrect.
Exactly, and that's another problem with the spell checks and all. If you spell the word right, it's gonna leave it there, even if it's the wrong
The
word.
wrong word for you.
Shit contracts.
No. God help us when it does, right? Oh, but that's a thought for another day. But yeah, I had somebody tell me that they would, load their book up into their Kindle and read it on their Kindle. Very much like you were saying on their phone, they would read it in the Kindle format and they would catch the things that they had not caught before because they were reading it like they were reading a book, somebody else's book. So every time you change the format, every time you change the way that you read it, the way you hear it, the way that you look at it, you're gonna catch different things. So that's, to me, that's very, very important. It's a very important stage, even though it can, again, feel tedious because you're, how many thousands of times are you reading those words? But that's the great part about stepping away and then coming back, because then you might have that wonderful moment of, hey, did I really write that? If you step away, you come back and you're like, I really wrote that. So those are fun moments. Okay. But this is not self-editing, but this is still important. I've touched on it a little bit earlier. Having good critique groups is vital, absolutely vital, and it's vital to the editing process. You can't write in a vacuum and have it be something that people can access. I know that sounds nuts. I know some other writers have done it, and God bless them. If they've done it and done well, I can't do it. If you write by yourself, you can assume that your intent matches what's on the page. Critique groups will catch what you actually said versus what you meant to say. And that's something that's very helpful to me. You will also learn how readers will really respond to your work because you think you've said something and it's going to be taken this way and then people take it that way. You didn't even know you wrote that. It's remarkable. You learn why they might feel bored, or confused, or engaged, and that is such helpful feedback. And it will sharpen your instincts too. When you get used to getting these kinds of feedback, I hear Carl in my head a lot of times. I will hear him say, no, don't do that. It's going to come across as, and I'll fix it. So thank you, Carl. You'll improve your editing skills faster because you'll see what people are looking for. It also gives you accountability, and I kind of stink at that one. If I didn't have a critique group, I would probably just shuffle around and not have the deadlines that I need to have because that's just the way my brain works. I'm kind of time blind. And so having these critique groups gives me a day, a time, an hour that they are due, and I have to read them. And I also have others that I need to read and critique and do back for them what they are doing for me. It holds me accountable, and accountability is never a bad thing when you're trying to achieve something. It'll also expose you to different styles and techniques. It'll help broaden what you're doing. It can inform your writing. You can inform their writing. It's very much, writing can and should be a very collaborative thing, even though it feels very solo. And I think for me, the best part about a good critique group is that it taught me to toughen up. Because when somebody critiques something and says something you don't want to hear about this precious little baby that you've been working on for so long, and you get all upset and say, how dare you criticize my work? Maybe that's what you needed to hear. You need to have a thick skin to be a writer. You need to have a thick skin to be in anything, especially in the creative sphere. You gotta be tough. You gotta be able to take it. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. You can figure that part out, but you gotta be willing to take what they're offering.
You know, that is a good point. I've always thought that if one person has an opinion, that might be their opinion. But if everybody in your review group, if everybody said, well, I didn't get this as a flashback, I thought it was a dream. Well,
Right.
you need to change something.
Yeah,
But if just one person said it.
Yeah, then you're an outlier.
Yeah.
Somebody that just doesn't get your style right.
Right.
Somebody who feels that they've got to make changes or else they're not doing their thing.
Or they were tired and didn't get it, you know.
But on the other side of that is, as with using the critique groups, they're not getting the information all at once. They're not sitting down reading over.
Right.
So it may have been there in the earlier chapter, and they've forgotten it.
That's a valid point. If you've done so much editing that you've removed the valid detail, that you still remember, but it's no longer in the thing that people reading it virgin, they're not getting the benefit, they don't have the benefit of that knowledge. It's not going to make any sense to them. That's what they should point out.
Or it could be there and they just forgot it because it's been 6 months since they saw it.
Right.
And that's when you say, no, it was back in chapter 2, halfway through the 3rd page. If you want to look it up,
I would
just
just
keep
ignore
on
it.
going.
I would just ignore it in that case. I wouldn't reference it. I would just be like, oh, whatever, delete.
Yeah,
Not acceptable.
absolutely. depending on how long your book is, if it's gonna be something gigantic, you may wanna do a little hint. Because readers like, I tend to forget some things. I have Swiss cheese brain now. Because I'm at that age. And something will be at the beginning of the book, I'll get toward the end of the book, and I'll think, I don't remember that. I'll have to go back and go, yeah, well, it was there, I just forgot it. So a little hint, to remind you, you already said this, sometimes can be a good thing. Just depends on what it is. You don't want to be heavy-handed, and you don't want to drive your readers crazy by saying, we know, you already said that. So it's just a matter of balance. But yeah, I think it's very important to develop that thick skin and be able to hear it, whether they are right or whether they are wrong. It's also important to discover, to be able to have the ability to give good feedback, to learn how to critique properly, so that you aren't saying, I hated it, I read it last night, I thought it was stupid. That's not a critique, that's not helpful, that doesn't help anybody. Even if it's a style that you don't necessarily like, if you're reading something and you go, I don't read this regularly, I don't really like it, but the character arc was good, the through line was good, I thought the plot was good. You find these things, I think you need to work on this chapter, I didn't really understand it. That's the point of critique. That's the point. If your feedback that you're getting is vague, that's not helpful. If they try to rewrite your voice, that's not helpful. If their skill level is not where yours are, that is not helpful. So it's okay to bow out and find another critique group if you feel like you need to do that. That is perfectly okay.
And can you talk about how to do that in a graceful way?
That's a good question. I struggle with that because, I don't like to hurt people's feelings.
Honestly, you can just say
I don't want to
that
hurt people's feelings.
you don't have time anymore. If you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, you can say you don't have time.
Yeah.
If you don't want to lie,
No is a complete sentence.
Yep.
So you can say, well, I'm afraid I'm just going to have to withdraw from your group. Thank you for everything
There
you've
you go.
done. And then you go and find another group.
What you don't want to do is dump on your critique group as you exit.
Absolutely not. Don't burn those bridges. Ever, ever, ever. And, people are doing the best they can most of the time. Most people don't mean to be mean. There's plenty to do, but too much to get off on right now. I promised I wouldn't go off on the tangents. Okay. There is no single right way to edit, but there are ways that will help you get your manuscript where you want it before you get it to the person who will read it and send it back and say, here's where I have bled all over it, and here are the things that you need to fix before you resubmit it again, because that's going to happen. You're going to think, okay, I've got it, except in the case of Carl. You're going to think, I've got it almost perfect here, I'm going to send it off. I think it was 2 commas or something like that with you. That was it. Oh, perfect story. Amazing.
Somebody's perfect.
Well, you hit it on that one. It was amazing. The goal is not perfection, it's improvement. That's what all this is about. It's just improving your writing. It's not perfection, it's improvement. And writing is rewriting always. That's something we all know, something we've always been told. Writing is rewriting always. Give yourself permission to write badly so you can eventually write well. That's my presentation. So remember the anthology, we've got a week and 2 days before the window closes, so polish, edit, send, and I will read it over, I will get my suggestions back out to you. The only ones you want to take are the grammar and commas and stuff, the ones, if I make a comment about any kind of what if he were to, at this point, and you don't like it, tell me I don't like it, and I'll leave it alone. So it's your story. And Tammy wanted to remind you to sign up for Rose Law. You can sign up in 2-3 hour shifts, whatever you want to do. Sign up sheet is over there behind the brief. And I think that's it. Bree, if you have anything you want to add.
I had a question about content warnings in the anthology. Can you talk about that a little bit?
We don't do so much content warnings as we just remind everybody that we try to keep it as giftable. Does that make sense? As possible, because some people are giving these to their families, to their dear old grandmother. I'm not saying pull back and write something that Mr. Rogers would necessarily say this is perfect. Write your story and it can be really cool. We're not saying that, but we are saying just be aware of content and the appropriateness of your story for this anthology. There are other anthologies where you can send something that's a little bluer or a little edgier or a little pushing the envelope, those are others. This is more of a community-centered, family-ish type dynamic that we're doing. Oh, did that help?
Yeah, and speaking of all of that, we do have critique groups, so if anybody is interested in a critique group, we have those available, online, all that are on the letter now. And
Just reach out to us at cartersvilleareawriters.com if you have any questions. And somebody will get back with you and help you find the right critique group.
or you can just come up and talk to me.
Yeah, or you can come talk to Bree after.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
And I guess